Hi guys, this is Tina. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm just here today for a very, well, I don't know whether it's going to be quick or not, but a video anyway, talking about how to use up those papers from your paper pads that are not really suitable or not your cup of tea. How to just use them up or alter them so that they become more usable in your projects. So this here is a section of a piece of paper that I have altered. It was originally this piece of paper here. So I just want to show you the kind of difference that obviously can be created just using obviously very basic kinds of things. So I'm just going to pop that to one side. I have layered up a little piece that I'm just waiting for something to dry on here, and then that will be my piece made with that paper. So obviously that paper has come from here. So, you know, hopefully you can kind of see there that just with a little bit of, what's the word? Effort, I suppose, you can really create it into something that's more user friendly or, you know, more usable in your vintagey type style pieces. So I'm just going to pop that out of the way. As you can see, I've brought along a few different papers here. I won't do this one because obviously I've just done that and I've shown you already how that came out. So I'm going to take this one. What I will do is cut this down because obviously I want it to all be in frame, and I'm using my husband's phone, which, I mean, I don't obviously normally film on a phone, so I don't feel 100% comfortable what's exactly in frame and what's not. When I look at the screen, I'm not sure, you know, I'm not sure what's in frame and what's not in frame because it looks different to my iPad, if that makes sense. So again, I'm just going to cut this one down as well, just so that I've got these more manageable sizes for you guys. And then I've got this one. I mean, I love these papers, to be honest, on their own. But they're obviously not that vintagey look that we kind of go for or try and go for in our journals. So hopefully we can just transfer them into something that's a little bit more in keeping with the types of things that we like to do. So I'm just going to grab a piece of blank paper to put under there so that, you know, you're not looking at quite such a messy surface. Now, what I did first of all was I just used some gesso here. Gesso, I think it's called. Why I can't actually retain what it's called is beyond me. So I'm just going to paint that all over the sheet of paper. And I will do that, obviously, for all of them. So we'll just do them, all the layers of gesso straight away. And then hopefully they'll be, you know, drying whilst we're doing the next pieces. That makes sense. Like that. I mean, obviously, again, depending on the paper, you know, you could just use it for like layering or something like that. But I mean, it's very unusual, or I personally find it's very unusual to buy a paper pack and absolutely love every single paper in it. Or like I say, you might like it, but it's not necessarily, you know, in the style that you necessarily would use. So I invariably, even when I've loved a paper pack, would end up with, say, you know, if there were, say, 12 different designs, and often you get like 2 of each design, you know, I might have 4 of those designs which I will struggle to use for whatever reason, really. Right, so that's my first one. I'm just going to pop that out the way for a moment. Then we'll bring in the next one. Oops. Oh, getting very messy with the gesso now. Excuse my hands, won't you? They're obviously messy already because I have already been playing around this morning. So, you know me, within 2 seconds of the bottle being open, invariably I'm then covered in it, whatever the bottle is. So today it's gesso, it's spray inks, it's you name it, I'm covered in it, to be honest. So There we go. Oh gosh. See, every time I put my finger down, I'm obviously then making a big hole in the gesso, but never mind. I mean, to be honest, you won't really see by the time we've covered it up anyway. Okay. So, I mean, the process of this is very similar to when we made, obviously, our book page paper, book page background pages. You know, we're just going to kind of stamp all over the original page to cover up what was originally there. Okay. Put that out of the way. So I hope everyone's having a good day. Hope you're all getting some crafting done. Trying to think what I have been up to recently. What have we been up to? Trying to think. Not a great deal. Hasn't been very much on at the cinema recently, so that's been a bit of a shame. I've been having a bit of anxiety lately, so that can be a bit preventative, can't it, of doing things. But there we go. And some days the anxiety is obviously worse than others, and I just find it quite helpful to just try and keep myself really super busy, and you know, not dwell on, if I'm aware of what the problem causing the anxiety is, not dwell on that too much. So that's what I'm trying to do. Right, so that's that piece as well. So I've got 3 pieces now sat drying. So let's pull that first piece back in and see whether that's dry. Okay, it's getting there. So I might just dry it off with the heat tool, so I will be back. Okay, I'm back now, and oh, excuse me, I just knocked my cup that's behind me on the floor. So I've just obviously dried my pieces with the heat tool, so ready now to get obviously cracking with them. So all we're going to do is stamp across to make some other kind of patterns on the paper. Now, depending on what you're going to use your paper for, will depend on obviously what way round that you're going to do your stamping. So this page here, we could make into a sort of flippy piece, really. So I might try and do my stamping this way up, if that makes sense. So I've brought in a few stamps here of kind of favourites of mine. And I've got my black stays on. So I'll just grab that. So all I'm going to do is just start stamping around. Now, I'm just thinking, I mean, if I was quite clever, I probably could actually stamp this. I could probably fold it and then stamp it, but that's really going against or away from what I was intending on doing in this video. Right, perhaps we'll come back to this piece, because otherwise I feel like this video then is not really kind of what I was originally intending it to be. So let's just get stamping some pieces. So I've got this lovely bird cage. This is one of my favourite all-time stamps. Now, it's a very big bird cage, as you can see. I often just stamp the top half, and as you can see, it's kind of missing at an angle, you know, it's not like straight across or anything. I love how that looks. Again, I realise that's probably not everybody's thing, but I mean, I personally think that looks really, really nice like that. You know, with the irregular kind of bottom. I didn't want it really uniform and squared off at the bottom, because to me that would look like I had tried to do that. So I like it just like this. I don't that often stamp with the clear, what do you call them, blocks. I do really like stamping with a wooden block, strangely enough, You know, I quite like the wood mounted stamps, but I'm not so keen, and don't ask me what the difference is, but I'm not so keen on the clear blocks. I don't know why that is, but yeah. So I'm just going to just stamp roughly around, going in sort of around the bird cage like that. And again, you know, just random places. I'm not trying to make it really uniform or anything like that. So that's those. I've got these amazing stamps. Now these are from Crafty Individuals. I know I've mentioned their stamps often before. I really do love their stamps. I mean, the only thing is, it is a bit of a shame that they don't come mounted. I mean, I assume that that's so that they can really keep the costs down. And I think for the quality of the images, their stamps are pretty good value. However, it is quite infuriating that they don't come mounted, because obviously they arrive and you think, oh, fantastic. And then you obviously open them and they're not really overly usable. So yeah, I have mixed feelings. I love the images. And obviously, as I say, the fact they're not mounted does really keep the cost down. And to be fair, I mean, it doesn't really take a lot of effort to actually mount them. You know, and if you know that that's how they come in, then you can anticipate that and, you know, get yourself organised and buy some foam and things. But I guess it's just something else to keep in mind, really. Right, so that's that. Now, do I want anything else, or do we think that's kind of enough? I mean, I quite like that as it's looking. I mean, we could just pop in a little bit of my favourite, because it wouldn't be quite the same without that. So perhaps I'll just do a little bit kind of just here and there. Like that. Maybe a bit down here. I hope that I'm in frame. As I say, I mean, I am using my husband's phone, which, I mean, that's just a different thing for me, and you just get used to what you film on, don't you? Right, I love how that looks. You know, to me, that just looks gorgeous now, exactly as it is. Now, obviously with my original piece, if I just show you, I went very close to all of the stamps, and I wanted it to look very full, very vintage, almost like steampunky. This one, as you can see, I've left much more space in between, which I quite like that, you know, on this piece I think looks really, really nice. I also absolutely love this gorgeous colour of this. I mean, I think this just looks really nice with that kind of whitey kind of effect on there. Whereas this, again, as you can see, I mean, I really grunged this up here. This was green, and this was obviously as I left it with the whitey kind of look. If I just bring in, obviously, compare it to the original, look at the difference there. It's a massive, massive difference, isn't it? You know, to me, this is not particularly usable in a vintage kind of junk journal. This instantly is very vintage, it looks to me. You know, really, really, really love how that looks now. And really didn't take very long or very much effort to do that. Now, I can ink that up. I'm a bit loath to, because to be honest, I really love how it looks just as it is. But obviously, I'm here experimenting with you guys, so I will ink just a tiny corner. I'll ink, I think, up here, just to see if we like it better, you know, naked, or whether we like it better inked and vintage. So hopefully you can kind of see how that's then looking. I mean, to be fair, I quite like it, you know, either or really. But, I mean, if I chopped that piece off, so let me find my scissors. There we go. And just chop that piece down. And we can just ink all around this one. just so as we get a complete, you know, the complete look of it. I mean, that does look pretty nice actually. And again, I mean, you could then, you know, rough up the edges, as I often quite like to do, like that. I mean, my husband's phone, I have to say, when I did the last, you know, used it the last time, was so fast to upload compared to my iPad. And I mean, goodness knows why. I've had my iPad, I think, for 2 years. But already it's, you know, it's quite slow suddenly. Well, I guess because it's so full, but. So I've got here some coffee dyed doily. I'm just showing you really the kind of effects that could be achieved, really. So, excuse me, I'm just going to see what I've got around the desk that obviously I could pull in and use. Oops, the flowers have gone from that. Sorry, I'm just, because obviously I didn't really know how this was going to look until I'd done it. So, you know, I didn't know what pieces that I would be wanting to pull in. So if I just take these flowers, for instance, ink these up so they look really lovely and grungy too. I mean, how pretty does that look? It just looks lovely, doesn't it? Exactly as it is. I'm so sorry about my hands. They're just, every time I glance and see them, I think, oh no, look at all that glue everywhere and that horrible, you know, gesso, isn't it? Gesso. Everywhere. So I'm really sorry about that. Right, there we go. So just going to glue that on there. Like that. I've got some clean wipes that have been drying to the side of me. So they're there. I can pop that down. Then we can glue, oops, excuse the back of this. It's obviously been, you know, one of my test prints when I've been obviously printing my kits. Okay, pop that down there, like that. I mean, that just looks so pretty, you know, even just as that is, to be honest. And then I could add perhaps a little butterfly. So let's just ink that butterfly up and see how that looks. Oops. Just wanted to tone down the blue on there a little bit, so that might not be quite the right butterfly, to be fair. Maybe a different one would look better. Let me just pull in some lace trim. Sorry about that. A call came in and it's obviously then stopped the camera from working straight away. Right, so I might have that there and leave the lace at a sort of gathered piece because that looks quite nice. I don't very often use it as a gathered piece, but sometimes it's kind of nice for a change, isn't it? So just come on, come on. So just pop some glue down here like that, and then just going to pop that on there like that, and then we'll just cut that off at the edge like that. Okay. Okay. And then what we could do is just maybe pop on a word or something. Ah, look, perfect word, growing. So sounds like the flowers growing. Okay. And unfortunately, because I've obviously stopped the camera, you know, to, what did I do? To use the heat tool. And then obviously because it stopped just now, because of the phone call, I've now lost track completely of how long I've been filming, so I apologise if I've now been filming for endless amounts of time. And so far we've done literally one piece of paper, so it's not quite going as I had originally planned, but there we go. There we go, like that. And then I will just pop pop that butterfly on. I mean, I'm not saying this is necessarily the butterfly that I would have chosen if I were picking, you know, in slow time, but obviously I am aware that I'm doing a video and just now taking endless amounts of time. So I'm just going to go round the edge again, just to make sure it's really lovely and inked, like that. And isn't that gorgeous? And you could just stick that on a page then, you know, with a little tuck spot to the side. So if I just grab in the original page again. So that's what we've done with that piece of paper. Let me check I'm in frame. What a difference. You know, to me, this has gone from unusable to completely usable with not too much effort, really. So, you know, I just think that looks, yeah, really, really good now. And I would use that all day long, you know, looking like that. So that's our first piece. Let me just stand up. Right, we're at 3.5 minutes. Obviously, I don't know how long we filmed for previously, but right, let's just get cracking. So this is the other one. This is the one that I thought we could have a folded up piece. So let's just do it as per a folded up piece, because that way, you know, it might be a bit quicker and then I won't be keeping all of you for quite so long. So if we would have this as just a little fold down flippy bit, and I would cut that sort of along here, like that. And then I'm just going to trim it down just on either edge. Oops. Like that. Okay, just straighten this up because this is horribly unstraight. Oops. Okay. So what I might do is keep that to the side so we can see about the inking options just on the sort of test piece. So again, you know, this has gone from this very bright piece of paper, you know, again, what I would perhaps not necessarily use in my journals, to now we have this piece here. So I've got here some other stamped pieces, which I can just pull one out. I'm kind of thinking we could have this little bird here. We could have the bird in the centre actually. So let me get my black stays on. I mean, really, you should apply the ink to the stamp, shouldn't you? But I mean, I don't very often do it that way around, to be honest. But I'm a very sloppy stamper, I have to say. I do like stamping, but I certainly don't look after my stamps, as you've probably seen by now with my messy craft room, my messy stamp storage. Right, now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to pop this down so as I know roughly where that's going to. So like that. And then I'm going to take my stamp, because I want to make sure I've got the entire bird visible, and I didn't want to dab the ink onto the top part of the flap. So there we go. So we've just popped the little bird on there. Put that back in the packet before I just can't even remember what packet it came out of. Pop that on the floor behind me so it's not now in my way anymore. Now around that having a look at the stamps that I have brought along. So I could have, what shall I have around that? Decisions. I mean, again, I could have the bird cage, but to be honest, that might be a little bit big unless I have the bird cage on the flap. So let's just have a bit of the bird cage there on that flap. So just pop it sort of there. And as you can see, I opened it up so that I didn't stamp all down the piece. So that's that. And then again, I might just use this one because this really looked quite good, didn't it? So, and we're just going to lightly stamp around the bird. Like that. And then just the same across the top here, just so as it all ties in really, like that. Bit there. Okay, so I'll just pop those back in my drawer. And then what we can do here is, again, I'm going to test now to see how this looks inked up, whether we want to leave it as it is or make it look kind of more grungy by inking it up. So, I mean, it looks quite pretty, doesn't it, when it's inked up? I'm just going to try, and I know this sounds a very strange thing to say, but I'm just going to see how it looks with the green. Because, you know, sometimes you get quite good effects, don't you? Kind of mixing things up. And that's quite nice. I quite like that peeled paint, so I might go for that. I mean, it sounds very strange, and I did not have an intention of doing that originally, but I quite like that. And obviously within changing the entire colour of that paper. So I'm going to open this out so that I can get to the top there. And just going right over the entire piece. Oops, move that out of the way. Like that. And then again, we'll just do the top here. Like that. Now, obviously it depends how you're going to use this, whether you need to do the back or not. We'll do the back because just in case it's obviously a loose piece in your journal, then obviously, you know, it wouldn't really kind of tie in very well if then the back was still showing through as orangey pink. So we'll just do that like that. Okay, so the whole thing now is covered there. Just ink up there a little bit more. Okay. So then I'm going to now just go around the very edge with the vintage photo. So I'm going to try and get the inside as well a bit with the vintage photo. So it's looking really nice and vintage. And probably what I would do is actually have this maybe as an envelope rather than, you know, a fold down flippy openy thing. So that being the case, I'm going to just go around the edge with the vintage photo, like that. And then across the folds, so just like that. And then here as well. And then we'll go round the top. so which just round the edge of the top piece with the vintage photo there as well. And again, across that fold line. I mean, they're really just the natural places that it would be, I suppose, getting worn, really, is what we're trying to do. So that's that. And then I think what we'll do is we'll put a thumb hole in here. Oops, come on. Like that, excuse my head. Like that. That just makes it slightly easier, obviously, to get your pieces in and out. We'll just glue this down. Obviously, this would be lovely, you know, really nice stitched, but obviously, you know, I don't have a sewing machine, so I'm just going to glue that down. And to be honest, you know, if you haven't got a sewing machine or you're not keen on sewing, I mean, I think it looks really pretty anyway, so don't fret about not having a sewing machine. I think, you know, that's just probably my opinion, but okay. So now, again, I'm just going to finish this off. So let me just check that I am now in frame. So I'm just going to finish that off with, again, just maybe a little piece of that doily. So just tear that down. We could have it there, or we could have it over here. So I might have it up here. And I might just have it there, like at that random position, because I thought that looked really quite nice. So let me just pop some glue. Oops, dropping things on the floor now. Okay, so again, press that down, just roughly where we want it, and then like that. Now, I did have some lace trim. Let me have a look. Oh. It was on the floor beside me. We could just finish that edge off with like that. That looks really pretty, doesn't it? So just get the glue flowing. Come on. Go. Like that. I'm just going to press it down like this so I don't glue the flap to the envelope, because I seem to be doing that a lot lately. I think it's because that glue is actually really quite powerful, and yeah, I'm still getting used to it, obviously. So I'm just going to cut that little piece off there. I mean, doesn't that look so pretty? Just see whether we want anything else on there. I've just got a piece of my washi tape. We could have that somewhere. I mean, it probably doesn't really need anything else, to be honest, but it's always fun to put more stuff on, isn't it? So we could have this little bow there. Let's finish it off with that. Just adore bows. They just really, you know, they're a bit like butterflies, I find. Wherever I put them, I think they look just perfect. Yeah, I don't know whether I'm the only person who thinks that, but I do really love them. I could just add that just for a bit more interest. Let's just see. Just look down through the lens and see how that looks. I mean, it doesn't really add a lot, but it just kind of makes it slightly different, I suppose. So we'll just pop that on like that. And just have a tiny bit of lace. And that just uses up that entire piece then. It's another thing gone from my desk. Come on. There we go. Again, just stick that down like that. Okay, so if I just bring in the original paper again, which was this, you would never believe, would you, that that was made from this paper. It's really different, isn't it? So, you know, I just think, for me, I definitely have those pages that I struggle then to use, and doing things like this, you know, effectively you're just camouflaging or disguising how they originally looked. But it takes them from, you know, for me, I think, unusable to very usable. You know, straight away now, that to me is completely usable in a journal. Yeah, so I hope that you found that helpful. Obviously, I'm aware that we didn't really get time and get around to this one. If I do get time soon, I will try and do another video where we do some more of these, but I'm not sure kind of, you know, whether I'm going to have time to do that or not. So, but I hope that you did find it useful, obviously, on the couple of bits that we did get round to. So we obviously did this piece here, and then we also did this piece here from this, obviously. So, you know, really different to their original pieces. So I hope that you found that useful, and that you'll join me back again soon. Thanks very much for watching. See you again. Bye.